right, well, today we are doing a real talk on immunosuppressants and mood today. So, if you or someone you love has been on immunosuppressants for autoimmune conditions such as Remicade, also known as Infliximab or Humira, you might have noticed your mood or their personality has changed, and you are not alone. So, welcome back to Chasing Chickens, where we are keeping wellness weird and connecting over how crappy chronic illnesses. I'm Dr. Alison, and I am a functional medicine physician and also a chronic illness patient. And I'm here to share my stories, my insights, support you on your healing journey, and also really just keep this real and authentic and give you the best research information and guidance that I can as we go through this. So, my story is that I have been on Infliximab, which is essentially generic or a biosimilar to Remicade. It's an immune suppressant, and I've been on it since September of 2020. Now, thankfully, it saved my life, and I am so grateful for this medication from ulcerative colitis, and essentially because of the harm from medical negligence that I experienced. I will need something that manages my colitis for the rest of my life. My first dose was in the hospital, but I was so sick and tired, I could not tell you what my response was emotionally, besides the fact that it saved my life. My colitis started to slow down, my pain went down, and at that point, I was at end stage colitis. Like, I still don't understand why I don't have an ostomy bag, but for whatever reason, here we are. Now, my second dose of this medication was 2 weeks later. And besides the incredible fatigue that I had from this, and I was still on my way to healing, I was still incredibly sick. My husband was driving me to my appointments because I couldn't walk very well yet. Still haven't regained that. I couldn't even drive because I didn't have the energy or strength to pick up my feet and make sure I could drive correctly. And the infusion center was far away. So that night, when we got home from my second infusion, we were sitting around, we had our little family dinner, my husband, my two kids, and we always go around and talk about the apple of our day and the worm of our day. So I used to say, like, tell me one good thing, one bad thing that happened, rather than go, how was your day today? Like, trying to do things a little bit differently. And my daughter, when she was in elementary school, her counselor called it the apple of the day, meaning the good thing, and the worm of your day, meaning the not so great thing. And well, my kids were talking, and a part of my brain, but not me, almost like a little devil sitting on my shoulder, said some very, very bad things. And I'm not going to repeat them here because they were so horrible. And I I could not believe that came into my mind. But it was something along the lines of, "Oh my God, shut up. Why do you talk so much?" Like, yeah, kids talk a lot, but this was just brutal. And the words that were used inside my brain were absolutely brutal words I would never say to another human being, probably not even my worst enemy. And thank God it did not come out of my mouth. And I've never had this thought about my kids before, or really almost anybody. There was so much irritation, anger, brute force emotions associated with it. And I have no idea where that thought came from. And I was like, okay, clearly this is a side effect of the infusion. And I excused myself from dinner. I said, I'm not feeling so good. I need to go lay down because I didn't want to take out this like new devil on my family. But no, nobody deserves to be treated like that. So, and thankfully it didn't come out of my mouth, right? So my first few infusions, I had a bad emotional reaction, and it would last for 3 to 4 days, and then started going down to 2 days, and then one day, and then I was just super moody for like the day of the infusion, but usually the next day I was over it. And I made it very clear to my family, especially my kids, because one, they didn't do anything wrong. Two, I'm not mad at them. My body and my mind are just crazy because of the medication. And I think we called it like my kids would look at me and be like, "Mom, you look so angry. What's wrong?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing's wrong. I just had my infusion. My body is really cranky. It makes me cranky. You guys are amazing. Maybe I should go take like let them know that you're experiencing like it's not their fault, right?" And now if you're like me, you probably did some research or you asked your doctor and like everyone's like, "No, there's no side effects emotionally from this medication." Like no one is willing right now to tell you that these immunosuppressants will change your personality. And what's so interesting is that when I was younger and um, we had friends that were going through chemo, I heard like chemo changes your personality. I was like, well, that's so weird. Just don't be a dick to your wife. Like, why did these people get divorced or why are things changing? And like, it didn't make sense to me until I had this experience. And I've had a handful of patients who were on similar medications and they have connections to friends and docs in Europe and Germany. And they told me, my patients told me that their doc in Germany was like, "Oh my gosh, everybody I see has mood changes with this." And they're just confounded that in America, there's this denial of the reality of what patients are experiencing. And when you look at the very limited research, most of it does come from Europe, especially France, or there's 1 to 2 case studies in America, but the authors, the researchers are like, "Oh, this is so incredibly rare. Like, no one really ever feels this way." And it's frustrating. And if you Google and just type in infliximab and anger or rage or psychiatry, the first 15 pages I scrolled through had no research associated with it. So make sure that you do go to PubMed, PubMed.gov, and be very specific in what you're typing in, and you'll find some things. I also drop some links below for you. Now, this year, 2023, my lovely insurance switched me from Infliximab, the generic, to the brand name, which is Remicade, which in theory should not have made a difference because they're biosimilars, but there's just like 1 or 2 compounds that are a little bit different. But oh my God, the actual Remicade made a major difference. First of all, it didn't work. So it took me from feeling 80% okay down to 10% okay. So my colitis went back into a flare, but the rage, the irritability, the nonsense that was in my head, I had to force myself to function emotionally on a second to second basis. I couldn't be touched. Like I had hypersensitivity to like hugging. I couldn't be around my kids for more than 15 minutes without getting angry. Like seriously angry for no reason. And I had to do everything I could to keep it under control. And it took me a while to realize that one, the Remicade had failed physically and emotionally, and that's what was keeping me so irritated because I went from having the best start of my year. I was happy, I was busy, I was creative, I was fun, I was snuggly and connected with my kids and my husband. My husband and I were having a great time together, sexually, intimacy wise, emotionally, like 10 out of 10. Everything was just like, this is my year, except for the Epstein bar, but that's a different story. But as far as like emotionally, I was like doing so good. And then 2 days into this Remicade, I was an ice cold bitch. Oh my God. So I called my GI and let them know one, I'm physically failing and emotionally failing. And so we switched to Stelara. So I just had my first infusion. I haven't started the shots yet, but I do think that my anger calmed down. However, I still have the touch sensitivity, which is just sucks so much. Like my kids and I usually watch TV and watch our favorite shows at night and snuggle before they go to bed. And I just like, oh my God, stop kicking, stop. Like, so we're not quite there yet. Um, and this is why I call it like the Remicade rage, the Infliximab irritables, the Stellara sats, because after the Stellara infusion, I did have an increase in sadness, like trending towards depression. So if you've noticed that your emotions have changed, your loved ones, your wife or your husband or your kid went from like, okay, dropped you off, you had your shot or your infusion, and then the next day they're just like the angriest, short temperest, manic, depressed, suicidal. These are serious, very, very real things. Psychoneuroimmunology tells us that our immune system is directly related to our psychology, our mood, and our health. So, of course, if you take a medication that turns off your immune system or suppresses it, it's going to affect your mood and your personality. But then, like, okay, so one, now you know you're not crazy, you're not alone. There's definitely research out there that proves this. So, now what? Like, I have to be on this medication or something like it forever. So, and I can't be crazy all the time. Or maybe a little bit of the time, but like I try to keep it to myself. So, first of all, most importantly, talk to your doctor if you're having these side effects and they aren't manageable. Manic episodes, suicidal depression, these are common. Your doctor needs to know. They need to get you off or change the dose. Something needs to be changed. And if they tell you, oh, no, that's not a real side effect, like you just need to be on antidepressants or you need to see a psychiatrist, get a new doctor because if this could only get worse, as you see with me and Remicade. Secondly, therapy. Even though, like, on my part, like, the Remicade rage wasn't, like, because of something, like, traumatic that happened to me. It's like a biochemical issue. Therapy gives you the tools and the support to guide you through triggers, trauma, how is your body feeling, helping reduce that in a general way as well to support you through this time. So that's really important as well. All right, on the weird side, I found that grounding mats actually was really helpful. So I got one to try and help me sleep. Sadly, it's not helping me sleep at all, but I did know when I lay on it that my mood is like, okay, we're not going to rage anymore. So I, I don't know what it is about grounding mats, but they are notorious for supporting emotions as well. So get one. You can get a one that you just put your feet on. You can get one that's a medium sized one for your bed. You can get one that covers your whole king size bed. Doesn't matter. I got a little cheapy one for like $20, and I still think that it works great. You plug it into the grounding port of your electrical outlet. Just like earthing, where you're supposed to walk around barefoot outside and connect to the ground. I'm like, well, it's snowing outside, so not doing that right now. So we can recreate these in a different way. Okay. The other thing that I have found to be incredibly helpful, of course, are my essential oils. So we have two things. We have the adaptive capsules and the serenity capsules. So they're really supportive for brain neurotransmitters. Serenity uh, also works on calming the brain, works on blood-brain barrier inflammation. And then I diffused oils and put them on like crazy, like Balance Blend, Vetiver, Lavender, Copaiba. Like all of those were still my lifesavers. Not curative, right? But like, oh my gosh, I have to maintain myself in this moment. What am I going to do? These are the things that I reached for. I did get a few Reiki sessions done, and I would say that it was helpful, like in the moment. And body work is also really helpful in that moment. But it's like, well, I can't have someone come sit with me all day and Reiki me all day, like at night. What are we gonna do? So, just kind of involving different types of body work, craniosacral was also a little bit helpful. One of the other major things that I found, which was really great, is my Healy frequency device. I'll drop a link in that. You put the wires to your wrists and you can choose different frequencies for your body. And I almost always use the System 1 every single day, and it doesn't flare me. It's just a frequency that helps support your body. There's also emotional ones. There's all kinds of different programs, but having those frequencies in the hard moments did help my body and my mind calm down. And then the other thing, of course, meditation, of course, walking, of course, taking Epsom salt baths, but trying to do like calming breathing. I follow Wim Hof, pay for his app. It's amazing. So just little grounding things in the moment to try and calm my body and mind, because it's difficult and it's so hard. And if you're dealing with this, you're probably like, yep, what else can I do? And so, but okay, these are not necessarily replacements for going off your medications, right? These things are not replacements for changing your meds if you need to. It's just extra support as you're going through these hard times. And you have to find out what works for you and your body. So it's still an experimentation. Now, if you are feeling suicidal, please call the national hotline, text the hotline, have the links below for you. Call a friend. Don't wait and think that there's something wrong with you and you're failing, because you're not. This is a bad reaction to a serious medication. And also, do not stop taking your medication without talking to your doctor, because you can't risk your life either, right? We have to stay on these things and we have to manage them and we have to experiment and find the people that will support us through this journey. Now, in a few weeks, I will dive into how I naturally support my autoimmune conditions, supplements you should take, supplements you should absolutely not take, how to exercise, lifestyle, all of that stuff to help support the medication, the pharmaceutical stuff that we're doing. But reach out for help if this is something that you're struggling with, because you're not alone. And there are options out there. There's always options out there. So, love you. Thank you for connecting today. Follow me on socials that I'll drop below. Connect there too. And we'll see you next time.